Hello, guys. Good day. This is Anna of Reinforced Club. Today, we are going to talk about managing workplace stress effectively. Today, I am going to bring about the top 6 stress factors according to the Health and Safety Executive in the UK, HSE UK. These factors encompasses various aspects of work that can contribute to stress and impact employees' mental well-being, performance, and even health. As you can see, when an employee or a worker is stressed enough, it can affect or it can lead to poor health, low productivity, and increased incidence of absenteeism and sick leave. Now, here are the top six stressors in the workplace. The first work stressor is demand or demands, which is what's related to high workload with tight deadlines or unpredictable work schedules, which an employee will find it hard to manage the so-called work-life balance. So let's just take, for example, an emergency nurse. If you are a nurse working in the emergency department. So there is what we call peak hours. It could be 7 to 5, 8 to 4. And in an emergency department, peak hours could be early in the morning. It's all unpredictable. Plus, peak hours means high workload. For example, when a patient comes in an emergency department, the nurse will sort out patients according to their urgency of need. So that's what we call triage. So now they have already catered the first critical patient who is 50-50, and they have started out giving the proper care to a patient. And then another critical patient comes in. Critical patients, assuming that the patients have already been assessed. So they have to cater another patient again. Different case. It could be bleeding or trauma from an accident. And then another critical patient comes in. Plus another one. We'll never know. There could be an accident somewhere else and they are the nearest hospital. Or there could be calamities that is going on and they are one of the best hospital that anybody could rely on. So that's what happens in an emergency department. High workload, tight deadlines because the nurses are dealing with lives. Nobody has to die as much as possible. And in those, critical hours, sometimes the staff couldn't eat, even the doctors, even the porters or everybody involved in the emergency department. So it could compromise their health. Plus, there's a shortage of staffing. But no matter what happens in an emergency department, all the people are dedicated there to get the job done, to save lives. It's just that sometimes there is burnout going on. It could compromise the staff health, productivity. Well, they could be productive while the situation is critical, but at home they are totally done. Or they could be sick while having critical hours most of the time of whenever they work. So high workload, tight deadlines, unpredictable work schedules, you never know what's going to happen along the way. By the time you work, all you have to do is buckle up. So that's just one example. Another example could be, if you are a marketing manager responsible for launching a new campaign while simultaneously you are managing an ongoing project. So while focusing on the project that you're on, you have to go out and check the team if they are doing okay and to make sure that the launching must be successful. So that's high workload and tight deadline again. Otherwise, you're done if the launching will flop. Yeah, it happens though. Now, what are you going to do to overcome this demand related stress? So the first thing you can do is prioritize your task and manage workload by means of time management. If you think time management is overrated, you can replace it with prioritization. Prioritization means you have to categorize your tasks. So the first one is urgent, which means that you have to do it now, as soon as possible, the soonest. Otherwise, you're done. Your career is done. Your career is over. So you have to do it now. The second one is the non urgent, which means that it can wait for a while. It can wait for 30 minutes from now, an hour from now, but you still have to do it. The third one is the later, which means that you can do it 6 hours from now, 4 hours from now, or the following day. Most importantly, never forget the three: urgent, non urgent, and the later. And that's how I classify it personally. That is prioritization. And you can even make your own way of prioritizing your workload. The next thing that you can do is effective communication. Effective communication to your boss, to your supervisors, to your senior nurses about the workload of the situation. Because if you think that it's not healthy for you, it is totally or absolutely not healthy for the area, for the department that you work with or that you work for. If the project is too much for you, it means that the output wouldn't be high quality because you are already overloaded. So, what's going to happen to the results? What would you expect? So, communicate your heart out, your concerns to your heads or to your bosses nicely, respectfully, and effectively. The second stressor in the workplace is control. So, this refers to the level of autonomy and influence an employee has over their work and decision making process. So, this has something to do with a micromanaging supervisors, in which an employee has a limited involvement in planning, strategizing, or even in the decision making. But the employee is the one doing the work. So you're like robot taking commands from your heads. If you are a control freak, then this is a big problem for you. So for example, if you are a software developer who is required to follow a strict coding guidelines without the ability to, without your not totally losing your ability, but you are not required to suggest improvements or alter solutions from your own perspectives. Another example is if you are a customer service representative and you must adhere to the scripts in solving customers' problem, even though you wanted to solve or and communicate to the customer as humanly as possible. But you can't. You have to stick to the script. Now, that's quite daunting and it affects your work because it makes you feel like you are a robot. Now, how are you going to do something about this? To overcome the control related stress. The first thing is you have to advocate for more autonomy in your task and decision making process. And the only way you can do that is to openly and effectively communicate it to your supervisors. Express your need for control and involvement in the decision making, especially that it is your project. Another work related stress is support. So this has something to do with the, you know, encouragement, resources, and assistance available for the employees from their colleagues, supervisors, and from the organization. So lack of support means you're going to have an inadequate training and guidance for your new task or responsibilities. So, for example, if you are a foreign nurse and one of the European hospitals sponsored you to work for them, and as your training goes along, day after day, you have realized that you still need further training, further lecture, further guidance. And in some point, you realize that you don't get it. And you also need an emotional support, for your entire period of adjustment, since you are away from your family. So you also have to consider that. And you don't get it as of this moment. And that's quite stressful. And you have your new role in a new country. So in order to overcome that, it's important to really build relationship and trust to the people you work with, to your colleagues, to your supervisors, and everybody involved in your area. Build relationship. And once you build relationship, you can foster supportive environment. You can seek out good mentors and coaching in opportunities from your colleagues, from your favorite senior nurses, to enhance your skills and knowledge in the area, so that in the long run, once you've already adjusted yourself in your new role in a new country, you can even share or help your colleagues in the long run. You're going to help each other. So that's one way to overcome uh, support related stress. Build relationship with the people around you, with the people you work with. The fourth stress factor is relationships. So relationship related stress factors. So this has something to do with your relationship with your colleagues, supervisors, and even to your clients. So if you have conflicts with your coworkers, yes, it is stressful. If you have misunderstanding with your project manager, yes, indeed, that is stressful. If you can't get along with your colleagues because you have different ways of doing things and you can't get on in order to achieve your target for the entire shift, yes, indeed, that is another stressful thing. And you're going to struggle establishing trust and rapport if you don't understand each other. So I'm talking about your colleagues, your manager, and even to your client. Nothing good will ever happen if the relationships around you is uh could be, let's just say, mystery. So you have to do something about it. So what are you going to do to overcome the relationship related stress? So it's important to practice again effective communication and conflict resolution to address the personal or interpersonal issues that's going on in between you and your workmates or between you and the client. And of course, it's important to hold over familiarity with your colleagues and keep the boundaries, establish boundaries to in order to maintain professionalism in a relationship. And that's also one way to foster positive connections with your colleagues. So once again, communication is another essential thing when it comes to relationship building, relationship stress, uh, uh relationship, well, how do you call that, related stress. And always remember that if somebody makes a mistake, when you understand them, when you understand the person, where that person is coming from, why did he do it, when you understand the situation, you're going to be less angry. You're going to become an understanding person. And since you are less angry because you understand the situation, you understand the person as well, it will help you come up with solutions. And always remember, if other people make mistakes, we also make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. The fifth stress factor in the workplace is role ambiguity. So, this refers to unclear or conflicting job expectations, responsibilities, and roles within the organization. So, for example, an ordinary team member who is assigned for additional duties and projects without sufficient time or resources, leading to role overload and difficulty in meeting expectations. You are the favorite employee of your boss. So since he trusts you, he gives you project and then another project which is supposed to be the project of your colleague. So he gave it to you because he believes in you. Now you are already bombarded with work, plus you have another role to do, you know, which is supposed to be the job of your colleague, but your boss gave it to you because he trusts you. He relies on you. Now, how to get over this role related stress? So it's important to seek clarification from your supervisors, or it could be your colleagues regarding your job roles and responsibilities. You need to make it clear to them that you are just an ordinary employee who is dedicated and able to perform a certain job description, a certain task which is applicable to your level. If you are a supervisor, Tell your employees or your juniors or your it could be your staff, your team, that you are only applicable to this kind of job roles. You have nothing to do with the, about the conflicts, about the issues in other departments. You are just functional in your area. Because sometimes it could be a staff member or an ordinary employee could raise an issue which is coming from the other department. And then it's important to really address the situation that that issue is only intended to that department, and it will only apply to your department unless uh, unless it is approved by the director or the CEO. So it's, you're sometimes there are issues which is out of our control, which is not covered by our role. Regardless of what role we have to stick to our job description. To That's also another way of self-care. And another thing is that it's important to set clear boundaries and prioritize tasks to manage your role well and avoid overload. That's self-care. Lastly, the last stress factor that I am going to bring out is the so-called change related stress. So this has something to do with the, organizational changes such as restructuring, downsizing, or implementing new processes, technology, which create uncertainty or disruption from the old system. It could be the new boss. There is a new boss, so he's going to change the organizational structure of the people working in the company. Or there could be a changes in the system of an institution, in a way that, the head or the CEO wants everybody to use computers with a particular software, which is which should be done, which should be, used by all the departments, by all the employees, only one software. And it takes time for people to adapt that, if it's quite complicated, if it's not user friendly. Another example is in the issue of downsizing. So there could be a fear of job loss or job insecurity to some employees or some roles due to organizational restructuring, or it could be budget issues in the company. And also, some people are resistant to change when implementing a new procedures or new technologies to be used. And that's quite stressful, for not only for the owner of the company, the managers of the company, but also to the employees themselves. So uh, it's quite like it's a new change. So a couple of days, first day, second day, there could be resistance to it. And it's not only the workers are affected, the customers are also affected too. So they have to adjust. Like, for example, in the hospital I work with, they are adapting a new software, and they are implementing to use a computer for for this area, for this department. And some people, some staff who work in that department are quite hesitant to use computers. So it's another stressful situation to them, as well as to the clients that they are going to cater. So that's a stress brought about by change. So in order to overcome that change related stress, it's important to stay informed about the organizational changes and seek clarification and how does this particular change impact my role, impact, the entire system, which involves me, as a worker in that company. And most importantly, uh, please take note to develop resilience and adaptability to the new skills brought about by new by technology, new system that you have to practice from time to time. Uh, this will help you focus or apply or improve yourself in on this new opportunities brought about by change for your own growth and learning. So if you like this content today, please subscribe to my channel, click the notification button, share this content to your family and friends, and follow me in YouTube, Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, Facebook page. Reinforce Me Club. This is Anne once again. Have a lovely day ahead. Thank you very much.